the history of the tank watch that Cartier doesn't want you to know. Tank watch has nothing to do with Cartier. Cartier did not invent a tank watch. Cartier did not name a tank watch. Cartier did not patent a tank watch. It took Cartier up until 1973 to register a tank name trademark. But let's get into it. In 1923, a patent for a tank watch was filed. That watch looked like this, and what's important is that the watch in the patent was named a tank. And the big innovation in this patent was that it was a very different construction comparing to the wristwatches at the time. The wristwatches at that time, they came from around pocket watches, and lugs were just soldered to that round pocket watch case. And there was obvious durability problem in that design because lugs were easily broken off. So the watch in the patent was built from a single piece of metal. That made the whole construction sturdy and durable, and the watch was built like a tank, and that's why it was called a tank. And a company who filed a patent for a tank watch was not a Cartier. Nobody heard about Cartier as a watchmaker at that time. The company that filed that patent was Gruen. I will get back to the legend that Cartier created a tank watch in 1917, but let's first look into what happened in 1923. So in 1923, Gruen didn't just file a patent for the tank watch. Gruen already started advertising tank watches. Here's one of the advertisements. Gruen already had watches ready to be sold, and they started selling tank watches. Two models were available, tank number 4 and tank number 6. These models were available in the green gold and the white gold. These models were available in solid gold and gold filled. These models were available in a regular 17 jewel movement, or if you wanted, you were able to buy this watch in an upgraded movement. Think about how many combinations of the watches were already available in 1923 for sale for like regular customer to go to a shop and buy a watch. Think about how many watches were already made in 1923. So Gruen probably was preparing this big launch, big introduction of the new watch for many, many years before they actually launched it with a bang in 1923. Now, compare it to actually the brand that nobody heard as a watchmaker, Cartier. So the legend says that in 1917, Cartier created a tank watch, but if you look into details, actually the legend does not say that the watch was created. In 1917, the legend says that Louis Cartier just started thinking about the watch. There was not a watch at that time. Next year, Louis Cartier just started working on a watch, some like prototypes. No watches were actually made and sold, but he was just like thinking about, no, he was just like making a watch, some like prototypes. He was trying some ideas in the next year. Now, in the year after the next year, that's 2 years after 1917, legend says that Louis Cartier actually sold some watches, but look how many watches were he sold? Six. Six watches he sold. Only six. Compare it to Gruen, this was like a 800-pound gorilla in the watchmaking at that time. They were mass producing tank watches. They probably sold so many. Actually, by the way, do you know that Cartier, from all the way from 1917 to 1970s, if you take all the Cartier tanks that they ever sold, like all these like Louis Cartier, Normals, Chinese, Sintre, the whole number of watches that were ever sold by Cartier was less than 2,000 watches, only 2,000 watches. Gruen probably sold 2,000 tanks in 1923 or shortly after 1923. So if Gruen owned a patent to a tank watch, how did it name and happen that Cartier was making a tank watch, and wouldn't Gruen sue them? And they did. There was an patent infringement lawsuit filed by Gruen, but Gruen sued not Cartier, but Gruen sued Bulova because Bulova was another 800-pound gorilla in the watchmaking space, and Bulova was making watches that were very similar to this watch. Nobody cared about Cartier. Even if they made some like tank looking watches, nobody gave a damn about them. Cartier did not matter. So, how did it happen that Cartier is actually making tank watches today? And how did it happen that in 1973 they were actually able to register a tank watch name as a trademark? So while Gruen sued Bulova for their patent, and they actually won the lawsuit, but sometime after that, Bulova was also like 800-pound gorilla in watchmaking space at that time. So they appealed the decision, and like the whole lawsuit continued for many years. And up until 1930s, the appeal actually was granted, and the patent was considered invalid. But 1930s, Gruen kind of like lost interest in the tank watches because they shortly after that they invented the Carvex watch, and Carvex was like super popular, and they basically threw the whole company into the Carvex. Now, if you're interested to learn about more misconceptions that you know about modern brands and modern watches, watch my video about the world's first waterproof watch. How Rolex claims that they made world's first waterproof watch, but they were not even close to to it.